Hi everyone, can you all hear me? You can just let me know there on the right hand side in the chat. You'll see if you go to conversation there, you can just let me know if you can hear me. Okay, cool. I see a few people are replying. Great. Just want to make sure. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone can hear me. Thanks, Wesley. Okay, so yeah, today we're going to be going through Microsoft Teams. Just a general idea. We're doing this obviously with the lockdown, and especially with it now being extended, it's a bit more difficult for businesses to be able to run. So assisting those businesses to be able to work from their homes and be able to work remotely is, it's essential for us to also keep on running. And I mean, we've been using Microsoft Teams now for the last year, and it's brilliant. So, well, let's just get right into it. Microsoft Teams is what we call a collaboration tool. Essentially, what you can imagine it as is the replacement for Skype, as well as being able to work on documents at the same time and integration of SharePoint or your share drives and that kind of stuff, like what you would have at your office. It's all online now in the cloud in a specific team. We'll get into that now. So the basics of Teams, you can use your Office 365 credentials to log in. It's by default enabled for everyone who has an Office 365 account. If you don't have an account, you can get a free account as well. There are some limitations to the free accounts, but in general, you can use most of what is there. It's easy enough to log in. You can go to teams.microsoft.com, or you can download the app and just log in using your credentials. So Teams is broken up into views. Can everyone see my screen? I just want to double check.
Karen, sorry, I couldn't reply there, but I just see the initials, not your screen.
Oh, sorry, say that again, Karen.
I can only see the initials, not your screen.
Is it? Just make sure. I'm just going to switch to here, see if you can see that. Okay, brilliant. So everyone can see my screen. Okay, so Teams is broken down into views, teams, and channels. That's the easiest way to explain it. The views are here on the left. You'll see activity, chat, teams, calendar, calls, files, and the ellipses here for more items. The two that we'll be focusing on mainly today is chat and teams, but we'll also delve a little bit into the calendar just to make sure everyone is on board with what's going on there. So let's start with teams. What is a team? A team is essentially just, hold on, actually, let me show you here first. So you can see these are the teams that I'm a part of. When you go into the view, here's your full list of teams. And all a team is a group of people brought together for work or projects or anything along those lines. So you can think of it sort of as inside your business, you would have a sales team. So all the members of that sales team could be part of your entire sales team. And inside each team, you'll see a channel. And I'm going through this very quickly, but I'll show everyone more in depth just now. The channels are, they're based around a topic. So you would build a channel for each team based around a specific topic. So like a sales team might have a sales management team, and that sales management team might have their own things to discuss according, that would be different to the sales below. And that's the easiest way to explain it. So you could create channels for specific events. You could create channels maybe even just for fun, if that makes sense. You could have a channel where everyone can just chill, chat, send funny jokes or whatever it may be. So channels can also be private or public. Like I said earlier, a private channel would be like the management team have their own private things to talk about, whereas a public channel could be that fun channel that everyone wants to, engage in. Private channels, only the people specified to be able to access the channel will be able to view what's going on there. Obviously, that's a little bit, over the top. So let's go in and create a whole team, and I can show you exactly what I mean. So at the bottom of the team's view, you'll see a join or create team. Easy enough to create a team. Anyone can do it. Just click on create team and create team here again. We'll build a team from scratch. You'll only really use the create from if you're an existing IT admin, but we look after most of our clients' admin on the back end. So if you wanted to create a team, you would build a team from scratch. So like I was saying, there's private teams, public teams, or organization-wide teams. So quite self-explanatory, but a private team, essentially, only people that you invite to that team will have access to view what is in that team and even know that that team exists. A public team, people can join that team as long as they have a link to join it. And that can be people from inside your organization or outside your organization as well. So if you had people that you worked with, such as consultants that you're working on projects with or anything along those lines, you would create a public team or a private team, depending on how you'd want to invite them. And a public team, obviously, anyone can opt in to join. They're not forced to join. And then there's an organizational wide team, and that's essentially, you'll see there on the top left of my screen, I've got the Simpl Solutions B2 Ltd. That's a full team, and everyone inside your organization that has an email address or an Office 365 account will automatically be added to that team. It allows you to send out mass messages. You can kind of use the posts tab as a public wall for information for your entire organization, and that's the easiest way to explain it. So for now, we're going to create a private team. You give your team a name. Let's just call this webinar, for example, or wrong keyboard. Webinar. You can give it a description, but it's not necessary to. And we say create. Microsoft Teams being very nice to us, saying that we did a good job. So at this point, like I said, it was a private team that we've created. So we need to add specific users to that team. So for now, I'm going to add Wesley, seeing as he's not here and he's probably available where he is. Simple as that. You can add multiple users. You can add as many people as you want to the team. I think it goes up to about 10,000 users per team at the moment. It seems like Microsoft will be increasing that limit soon, but as it stands, it's about 10,000 users per team. So we're just going to add Wesley for now to the team. He's now a member or an owner. So an owner can make changes to a team, where a member can only post to a specific team and use the channels that are there that he has access to. So we're going to leave him as a member for now, and we say close. So on his side, he should automatically get this webinar Teams added to his account, and he'll see it almost instantly on his side. There'll be no real delay in terms of what's going on there. So that's how we create a team. Quite straightforward. And you'll see it automatically created a general channel. If you remember, this is a channel. So by default, when you create a new team, the general tab or the general channel is automatically created. Easy enough. If you want to create another channel, you click the little ellipsis next to the team where you want to create the channel. You say add channel, and let's create the channel as webinar test. Just as an example, we'll call it webinar test. You can again describe something there if you want. Okay, so this is the privacy options that I was discussing earlier when it comes to, say, as an example, management or normal teams. There's private and standard. So standard means that everyone inside the webinar team will have access to that channel and be able to post items to that channel and see anything that's posted to that channel. Whereas a private team, you have to invite private channel, sorry, you'll have to invite specific people to that channel to be able to post and view any items in that channel. Anyone who's not invited will see that channel exists, but not be able to interact with it at all. So we'll just create a standard channel for now. And then you want to check the little automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list. That just means that they'll automatically see it when they log into their teams. You say add the channel, and there it is. It's as easy as that. Thankfully, Microsoft has made this as easy as they can for us to be able to use. So we've now gone through what a team is and what a channel is. So inside your channel, if you look on the top of your channel here, you've got the name of the channel, which is webinar test. You've got posts, files, and wiki. These are the 3 tabs that are automatically generated when you create a new channel. Posts is the public space for people to be able to communicate. It's by default, your people inside the channel by default will not receive notifications on this tab. So the way to use posts, if you look here at the bottom, there's start a new conversation and type @ to mention someone. Here you can type whatever you may want to type. So hello will probably be our very first conversation, and you'll see there it comes up, Richard Hayden, hello everyone. And whoever is part of this channel will be able to go in and view that conversation. People who are in this channel will not by default be receiving a notification on the bottom right hand corner that they've received this message inside the team. And but they will see a little, this where it says webinar test will have a little red dot, or it'll be highlighted depending on how their teams are set up on the user's end. If you need somebody specifically inside the team, so this is used essentially as mass broadcasting for emails. If you've got a team, they obviously need to check their channels every day to make sure that they haven't missed out on anything. If you need someone specifically to do something, we have a thing called @mentions. Anyone who's familiar with WhatsApp or even on emails knows what an @mention is. It is quite straightforward. I'm going to try and @Wesley. So I would type an @sign, and then you'll see Wesley comes up by default. So I'll be able to get him. Now when I send a message, he will receive a notification on his end that I have sent him a message. And it'll pop up on the bottom right-hand corner of his screen saying that Richard has sent you a message inside the webinar test channel. If you need the entire channel to see what's going on, or you need everyone, it's an urgent message, the easiest way to alert everyone is you can @ a specific channel. So the channel name, as an example here, is webinar test. So you can @ webinar test. As you'll see, it'll automatically come up here as a suggestion. And now when you type out the message here, everyone that is part of that group except yourself will receive the notification on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This is more for urgency's sake. So a posts tab is used for an information gathering of information. And everyone who's part of that team should be accessing those channels that they are part of every day to make sure that they haven't missed anything by default. But if there is something urgent that you need a bunch of your members to do, then this is the easiest way to make sure that they get the notification on the bottom right of their screen and make sure that they're doing what they need to do. Obviously, we are using channels as a way to get rid of internal emails. We know what it's like. Everyone's internal emails gets very cluttered up with especially internal emails, and it's usually questions back and forth, and your inbox gets really full really quickly and things get a little bit messy. So we're using channels, and Microsoft is also suggesting channels as a way to replace internal emails. If you are like me and you like to have a subject and then your entire body, you can, here at the bottom where you type your messages, have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a subject, and then you can add a format button. So you can have a format button where it allows you to, like a traditional email, add a normal body where you can again @mention specific persons. So I'm going to @mention Wesley again, and I'm just going to say this is a test. And there are some cool formatting things. So if you look here on the right, you can quote just to make things look nice. If I highlight that and say quote, it's all your standard formatting tools, and you can format it quite nicely and send the message as it should be sent. So enter by default now will be your spacing, as you can see there. So to send the message, you have to actually click the send button on the bottom right hand corner there, and it'll come through and it'll look like an email would. The other things that you can do here at the bottom, just to go through them quickly, is you can attach a file, which we'll get into now a little bit more in detail. You can add your emojis. There are GIFs available, stickers. You can automatically create a meeting inside the team. So if you need to have a meeting with everyone inside the channel, you can just click meet now, and everyone's screens or phones or wherever they have Teams set up will start ringing, and they'll be able to answer, and everyone can join the meeting immediately. These are additional ones here on the side that you guys wouldn't have to worry about, but it's just stream and praise. Okay, so before I go over into files, I just want to see if anyone had any questions. I did see that there was a chat here. Does anyone have any questions regarding everything that we've gone through so far before I go into the next tab here? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no for now. Great, it means everyone seems to be understanding. I will take a full list of questions at the end, and if there's something I can't get back to you guys on now, or I'm not 100% sure on right now, I'll make sure to keep a note of that question and get back to you, or get back to everyone as soon as I do have an answer. Okay, so let's move over into the Files tab. So again, these three tabs here at the top are all created by default when you create a new channel. So let's go to Files. Anyone who is sort of familiar with SharePoint understands that it is a file sharing system online that's secure and you can have control over. So this is essentially how it works. We have a SharePoint site that is created in the background when you create a new team. So anyone who's part of that team will have access to these files. This is all within your SharePoint sites as well. If you don't know what SharePoint is, you can imagine it as your file sharing system that you have at your office, except it's in the cloud. So this by default creates your Files tab. And the easiest thing that you can do here is you can upload a file. So I think I've created a file here on my desktop that I can upload called test document. We can upload the file. And now that file is inside SharePoint, and anyone who's inside webinar and has access to the webinar test channel will have access to this test document that we've just created here. Again, this is a full SharePoint system, so you can create your full folder structure within your channel. So we can create a folder here. Let's call it test, create, and now I can add files to this folder. Just as an example, let's create a new document. Let's create a Word document just for the sake of a Word document, and we're going to call this a test doc 2. Create. You'll see now that because Teams is a collaboration tool and built by Microsoft, it is integrated fully with your Office 365 and Microsoft Office tools. So you can see I've now created a new Word document and it's all automatically integrated into my SharePoint. So I can start working on my Word document. Hey, this is pretty cool. And because it's all online and all in the cloud, this automatically saves. So you'll notice that there's no actual save button. There is a save as if you wanted to save it locally, but in general, there is no save button. There's obviously diction and all that kind of stuff that's very cool, all integrated into here. So you can work on documents with people. I'm not sure if Wesley is available. I can quickly send him a message and see if he can get access to this file as well and just show you guys what I mean. So when I'm going to go back to the team, so I can just show you what's here. You'll see, okay, cool. Test doc 2 is the test document that we just created. I'm going to open that document. And you'll see it automatically saved. I didn't have to save it. And it'll see that I'm editing. So if I'm working with somebody on this document, I just want to see if Wesley will join. Wesley. So I've sent him a message quickly just to see if he can join and I can show him. So anyone who's part of that team now or that channel will have access to this file. So if you guys are working together on this file, just while we wait for Wesley, you can chat here on the right hand side and just, have a conversation about the document that you're working on. Just as an example, I'm busy working on that. Hey, this is cool, but I need him to please change the image because he has the images on his side. We can say exactly that and work on that document at the same time here. I just want to show him where it is. It's inside webinar test files. Yeah, you should be able to click it here now. So yeah, when you send something like that, it automatically sends the link to here. So let's just see. Okay, there we go. So you should now see Wesley Campbell. You'll see him. He's busy working on the document as well. I'm just going to ask him to type something for me so you guys can see while I'm working over here as well. So I can work and say we're both busy typing here and it's all working quite nicely. This works with Excel, this works with PowerPoint, this works with all your standard Office apps that you guys would use. It is quite straightforward. Again, everything that you do will automatically save, and the same on his side. Everything that he does on his side will automatically save. If you're not happy with this view, you can open up the document in the desktop app. I'm going to ask Wesley just to stay connected for a bit, just so I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to just switch the screen quickly. So you guys can just see what I'm doing there. I'm going to just share the document here. So I think you guys can see it now. So you'll see I've now opened that same document up that was inside Microsoft Teams now in Word, the standard Word. And if Wesley logs in and starts working on the document as well, you should see him there on the top right-hand corner. A little WC will pop up there and he'll be able to work on it too. Let's just see if he'll connect again. And there he is. And there you go. So you can see he's working on the document at the same time as well. And again, because you are working on this document and it's inside Teams, it automatically saves. So as you open and close and make changes to the document, you'll see that the document will automatically save. So I'm going to close this and just show you guys back to my Teams view. Okay, cool. And now I'll reopen that document here, and you'll see the changes that I made were applied. And yeah, so those are the biggest things that you can do with Teams, and that's probably the most useful items that you can do with Teams because of how it integrates really well with your normal Office documents. So there is another tab here. So the files tab, is there anything else that anyone else wants to know here? If you're not using Microsoft Teams or you're not using SharePoint or you're not paying for an Office 365 account, you can add your own storage, your own cloud storage to that channel. So if you and your team are using Dropbox as an example, you can add your Dropbox account here. It's easy. You click on that, you put in your username and password, and you allow access. Or if you're using G Drive, whatever it is that you guys may use, there are a couple integrations here as well. Then we do also have a wiki that is automatically created. This is basically just an explanation. You guys can put down a list of rules for the channel, whatever it is that you may want to do in here. It's quite open for you. It's literally a wiki of rules. Okay, so before I jump over to chats, because we have basically gone through everything that you would need to understand about Teams. Before we jump over into chats, I just want to see if there are any questions. If you wanted to move all your files off the local server in the office to SharePoint, would you suggest doing it via Teams? It depends on your use case. I mean, we can assist you with that whole process on our side, but essentially, yes, if those files are going to be used for a specific team that you would create here, so if it's a sales team or if it's a logistics team or whatever it may be that you, or a projects team that you want to create, and you want to add those files to those channels, and you know that those channels will all fill up, then yes, I would suggest doing it through Teams. If you're not 100% sure, or you just want a general file folder access as well, then what you could do is you could create a SharePoint site, and then you could use that as the main SharePoint site and just have give everyone access to that SharePoint site, and then use Teams as a subdirectory to kind of break up additional files that you add going forward. But that kind of stuff we can assist with if you guys are wanting to look into that. Any other questions about Teams before we move on to chat? So this team that you created for this webinar would be public, right? And where does it reflect under your teams? Good question. So yes, the team that I created there is public. It's public to my organization. So I've created it as a private team. So I need to invite specific persons. If you remember here, if I go to this over here and I click the three ellipses here, I can go to manage team. Inside manage team, it's quite self-explanatory. There on the top right, there's add members. So I would have to add specific members to this team. You'll see that Wesley is one that I created so that he could see, and he is a member. I am the owner, obviously, of this team because I created it. But I could add additional members. I wonder if I could add, let's say, Fred, just for now, so you guys can just see what that's like. There he is, Frederick Nell. I would say add. It'll automatically add him as a member and say close. If you wanted to create a public team, a team that any person could access as long as they had the correct link, you would, again, go create new team, create a team, build a team from scratch, and you would create that as a public team. So what would happen then is you would get a link for that team. So let's create one quickly. Create, and I'm not going to add anyone to that team. So basically what that allows is that anyone, even if they don't have a 365 account, or they don't specifically, or they haven't specifically been given access to their team, can join that team. So just as an example, you can go here and you can get what we call a team link. So you can get a link to the team, which is that. You can copy it and send that link to whoever you want to actually be part of that team. And that can be internal or external members. So people part of your organization or people that are not part of your organization can be part of that kind of a team. Anything else? Where do we see the name of this meeting? The meeting that you're in now, or? So I've got it hidden at the moment because I'm showing you guys the screen, but you'll see it. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it when I move it back over. So when you're part of the meeting, you'll see it at the top. It says Microsoft Teams webinar because that's what I've called the meeting for the time being. But yeah, it's the quickest way to do it, to explain it now. So is there anything else from you guys before I just quickly jump into chat? Chat is very quick, thankfully, and then we'll go over into calendar. Okay, doesn't seem like there's any other questions. So chat is also quite easy. You can imagine a chat as a channel. It's a private channel, essentially. So any persons that you add to that chat will obviously be the only ones that can see what's going on in that chat. So to create a new chat is quite easy. Once you've opened up the chat view, you can see the chats that you've been busy with at the moment. Again, these are all automatically backed up and stored on Microsoft's side. So if there were specific conversations that you need to look for that you've had with people, it's easy enough to search. You can search here at the top where it says search or type a command. If you had a specific conversation, for an example, you asked somebody to change a picture on a website, you just can't remember who it was or when it was, you can search for that conversation up here, and it'll bring up that whole list that you had back then already for yourself. And that's the quickest way to search anything inside Microsoft Teams. So this will search the entirety of every conversation and every calendar event that you have within Teams, every channel and every file as well. It's the go-to tool for when you need to find something and you're not sure where it is. Cool. So a chat is quite easy to create. You would just say new chat here at the top, right above where it says chat. And you can enter the name, email address, group, or tag of those people. So just for now, you would use the name. So if you entered a specific name, it would only generate those people from within your organization. So I would say Wesley as an example, and Wesley would pop up there. However, you can have conversations with people outside of your organization inside Teams as well. And the way to do that is to add their email address. So once their email address has been added here, it does check to see whether they have a Teams account. If they don't, they would have to go out and create one, but it does allow you to have those conversations with those people outside your organization. There are some legacy ones, so you might be lucky and you might be able to still converse with people that are on Skype or Skype for Business, for example, but that will be taken away completely in the near future from Microsoft's side because they are getting rid of Skype and Skype for Business. This is completely replacing those two tools. And that's the easiest way to create a chat. You can add multiple members to a specific chat as well. You can have as many members as you want. And those members that are in that chat, you can quickly call them as well. So I'm going to open up, just as an example, this chat that I have here with Wesley. There on the top right-hand corner, you'll see there is a video call button, an audio call button, and a share screen button. So the share screen button is what I'm doing with you guys right now. I click on that and I can share my screen or specific windows, like this Microsoft Teams window, with Wesley as an example. And you'll see there at the top that there are also tabs, and they're almost identical to the Teams tabs where there's files. There's no wiki here because it's a chat. So it's generally just chat and files. The Files tab works almost identically to the way that your Files tab works on your team. The only difference is that these files are then stored to your personal OneDrive so that it's not in a public shared space. Your OneDrive is obviously also part of your Office 365 subscription. So if you have that, then it all falls part of that. Again, we can work on these files together in private. And that allows you to keep, if there's something small that you need to work on together with a specific member of your team and you don't want to do it on a Teams channel, or you don't want that document to be available on any of those Teams channels, you can work on it within the space here. The chat features here at the bottom work exactly the same as well. You'll see there that there's a format button that allows you to create a more email type of message. There's also an urgency feature. So obviously there is a point where your users would walk away from their table for a minute and maybe miss a message that you've sent through to them. If there's something that is super important that you need them to look at as soon as they get back to the table or whatever it may be, you can set the delivery options the same way you can set a delivery option on an email that you would send out to one of your clients or to your users. The delivery option has the standard, which is your normal email or your normal message that you would send out. There is an important, which means that the message will be marked as important when they get the notification at the bottom right-hand corner. I think it's marked in red and it's highlighted. And then there's very urgent. Essentially what happens with urgent is there it says 2 minutes and 20 seconds, a notification will pop up on their screen until that person reads that message. And that just means that they'll definitely see it when they sit back down at their computers. And those are the two big differences when it comes to chat and Teams. The rest of it, though, is all about the same. You can, by default from here, if you needed to schedule a meeting with, let's say, for example, Wesley, you can just click the schedule meeting button while you're inside the chat. It opens up a new meeting assistant and you can add a title. Wesley will be there. You set a time. If you needed to include an entire channel here, you can, and that'll allow you to see everyone's channel there. Set a subject, very similar to how you would do it inside Outlook. Very similar to how you do it inside Outlook. They just make it very easy for you to set it up with specific people if you needed to. Cool. In terms of chat, like I say, chat and Teams are very similar when it comes, or chat and channels are very similar. So explaining them is not too difficult. Is there any questions around chat that you guys maybe want answered before we move on to calendar quickly? Okay, I'm assuming everyone's happy then with chats. Great, that's awesome. Okay, so the last thing we'll move on to for today is calendar. Calendar, like I said earlier, your Office 365 applications are all in sync. So your calendar here and your calendar in Outlook and your calendar within Bookings, if you use it, will all be synchronized here. You'll see all of your meetings. You'll see I have another 2 later on today. Will be inside here. This is the quickest way to create another Teams meeting. You can do it from inside Outlook as well. If you go to schedule new meeting, you'll see at the top there will be an option that says create new Teams meeting, and you can send that meeting out and you'll see it created here as part of the timeline. So just as an example, the quickest ways to create a meeting. If you had to create a meeting for right now, there's a Meet Now button, which will allow you to create an instant meeting that you could send out a link to everyone to join. I'm not going to click that because that will end our meeting as we're standing now. Let's go create a new meeting. To create a new meeting is quite straightforward. It's exactly what I showed you just now with creating one with Wesley. You would add new meeting here at the top right-hand corner. Add a title to that meeting. I like to use the scheduling assistant because it allows me to see where I have meetings and I'm able to just drag and drop the time. So let's just say for 12 o'clock for now, and that's the easiest way to do it. And now you can also add all your attendees. So who's actually required to attend here on the left and who's optional. Let's just add, say for example, Wesley. You'll see Wesley will come up as a suggestion already. And then you can also add email addresses in here. So let's say I'm going to send one to whoever. You can add, I can't think of an email address off the top of my head now, but you can add external users inside here as well. So when you go back to details and you add the details of the meetings inside your subjects here, you can send this off, and anyone who's part of who you've said that has to come through will get an email with the exact same link that you guys had to use today to log in, and they'll be able to use that to join the meeting as soon as it starts. You can also create a channel meeting. So your Teams channel, if you needed to create a specific meeting for a specific channel, you can add every member of that channel to this meeting by just choosing whomever you need to, or whichever channel you need to from the list that you have available there. And you can add multiple channels as well if you want. The easiest way if you wanted to have a company-wide meeting is obviously to use the company-wide channel that that is created by default when you have a Teams account set up. And yeah, that's essentially it in terms of creating meetings and joining those meetings. You guys now have some experience in joining the meetings as well, coming to here. I would like to find out if there are any questions that I can answer for you before I close up. When creating a meeting, can you see a required attendee schedule to determine if they are available? This would be specifically for internal org people. So yes, obviously I can't see it now, but essentially anyone who is inside a channel that you are sending the meeting to and that you are a part of, or if you are a global administrator, you would then see their schedules, yes, when you're creating a meeting. You'll see it pop up there. So if you're trying, when I use that scheduling assistant, which I'll show you now again, just so that you're seeing what I'm seeing. When I'm using that scheduling assistant tab, when I'm creating a new meeting here at the top, you'll see everyone else's meetings pop up in these tabs as well. So if I add, again, let's add Wesley here. You'll see that his meetings have now popped up in line with his name here. That's here and here that he is busy at the moment. So you'll be able to use the scheduling assistant to make sure that it fits in with everyone's available time periods that you've chosen to add here as required. No problem. Is there anything else? Thanks, Richard. I created a team that had channels. I thought the channels would work as separate teams, but you've made it much clearer. Team per group, channel per topic within teams. That's exactly right. Yes, Ryan. I know a few people that got a little bit confused with having exactly that same structure, but it's a lot more beneficial to separate the teams the way that we've explained today. No problem. Is there anything else from anyone? If we had a client that doesn't have a team account, you said they could create a free account. Yes, so Microsoft does have a free tier for Microsoft Teams. Obviously, some people use a different system on their end, and say, just as an example, not everyone is using Office 365, even though we suggest that they do. But yes, they can create a free Teams account that will allow them to communicate with you. If you go to, you can just Google Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft will guide you through the process of creating a free account. It is quite easy. No problem. Okay, do you think Teams will dominate the market? Yes, I think there are other competitors to Microsoft Teams. There is Slack. The biggest thing with Teams, though, is that it integrates with your Office 365 and your Office apps. So like your Word and PowerPoint. There has, I mean, since the whole COVID-19 has started, there's been a massive surge in the users of Microsoft Teams. To a point where it takes around 24 hours at the moment for you to get to be provisioned inside a team server. Once you're provisioned, it's everything runs as normal. But when you first sign up, it could take up to 24 hours at the moment because of the huge market that is now joined. So yes, I do think that they'll dominate the market. It's a great tool. We've been using it for about a year and a bit, and we won't be going back. Much more intuitive than Slack. I agree. I've used both, and Slack has its use case. Unfortunately, at the moment, though, because of the integrations and everything, it is great. The nice thing about Microsoft Teams as well is even now we're inside a pandemic, but later on it'll eventually go away. But Microsoft Teams is useful even once you're back at work. You guys can collaborate on files at the office. Somebody's sick at home, they can work at home as well. It's quite convenient for working remotely. I think that's everyone's questions. If there is something that you guys wanted to ask that we weren't able to get to, you are more than welcome to send me an email. I will keep an eye on the people that have joined here. I have recorded the session, so we'll make it available online if you guys want to go back and go through everything again. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, we'll do another one of these soon and maybe help with some more stuff going forward. No problem, guys.